Having completed a degree in digital media at the College of Fine Arts, Sydney, and going on to become an international sales assistant at SBS, Sarah Shrapnel had the power to select programs which influenced the opinions and perspectives of not only Australians but people from around the world, highlighting how communication has the power to transcend national boundaries and share a message with a global audience.
The digital media degree was so broad that it taught us everything from film, television, photography, a little bit of business, and also dealing with clients, which it really helped going into the industry. It was helpful in dealing with difficult people if problems came up. And so overall, just the broad range of subjects and teachings and dealing with teachers who've worked in the industry really helped. I was the sales assistant, the international sales assistant, which involved helping distribute SBS programs to the international television stations overseas, and also help support the manager as well. Well, firstly, SBS bases itself on its multiculturalism, and it's the only network that does that, and it's great for everyone from all different cultures, that they can watch their own news in their own language. So they can watch the Indonesian news, the French news on radio as well. And it's also good, SBS does a lot of independent programming, so if you're a student with a short film who's looking to get a foot in the door, they'll often, if they need a filler between shows, you've got a good chance of getting your work aired, which pretty much all the other stations won't do. So they foster a lot of multiculturalism. They support their own producers, directors and future budding creatives, unlike the rest. I didn't have a huge say in selecting the programs. That was mainly my manager who had the final say on what we would acquire and then distribute, but I was allowed to put in my 2 cents now and then. We did often have some conflicts with, we really had to research the countries we sold into. For example, I looked after Asia, and there's a lot of religious and political sensitivities you have to work around. Something as simple as a cooking show was rejected because they used pork products and alcohol in the cooking. So Muslim countries like Brunei, for example, just rejected it. So we really had to be sensitive to their religious beliefs and not offend the station, or because it made us look unprofessional. Some of my personal tastes have clashed with the content we've acquired. For example, I think some of the programming SBS has contributed money to and then distributed was purely for politically correct reasons, and I knew it wasn't going to sell overseas, and it often didn't because it just had no international appeal. We were looking for the shows to not only represent Australia and multiculturalism, but also to be sellable to the international market, so they couldn't be too niche and they couldn't be too Australian. They had to have some international appeal. One show that worked really well was called Best Undressed, and it was about the Miss Nude Australia pageant, which we thought might be a bit risky, a bit too Australian, and there was a lot of nudity in it. But it ended up being one of our best-selling programs. Particularly the Europeans bought it a lot. They loved it. We try and always portray a good image of Australia, but we do have a lot of gritty documentaries about the seedier side of Australian life, like whether it be about junkies or the homeless or the treatment of Aboriginals. But SBS doesn't try and gloss over that and put on a happy shiny image of Australia. We're into realism, so we do try and balance it with the gritty and also make Australia seem like a happy, nice place that is accepting of all cultures. So we try and get the balance right, I think.